Our group is getting a little bit smaller. People have started to make their way home, but we are really excited just to come together for one last panel this morning. And we wanted to end on a note that kind of carries us out. We have had some really hard conversations this weekend. We have had some really honest conversations this weekend. And I think it's been so good for us as a community to come together and share these stories. But we also want to hear from, we got Hallie on this panel very specifically because she is the oldest one here who has Heterotaxy at this conference. And we want to know from her what it's like, what this life is like. A lot of us are on the outside as parents or as spouses, grandparents, but so our perspectives are all very different. And so we've got another panel set up for you today, and we want to talk about what it's like to live with heterotaxy from the different angles, from the different perspectives, from someone who has it themselves to parents. What is that like? And so we're going to format this the same way as we did yesterday. I'm going to get each of the panelists to introduce themselves and give a little bit of background, and then I'll have some questions for them, and then you can be thinking of things that you want to ask them as well. So, Hallie, do you want to start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'm Hallie Munro, and I'm 13, and I was diagnosed with heterotaxy when I was 6 or 5. 6. When I was 6, yes. Yeah.
Hers is short and sweet. So I'm Hallie's mom, and we started our journey 13 years ago. She was not diagnosed prenatally. Hallie's journey has been very different than many of yours. Her heart defects, while she has 7 of them, they definitely are more plumbing issues, and they seem to be working for her. But the rest of her body is a mess. A beautiful mess, but still a mess. So Hallie has had 4 bowel resections, a bowel lengthening, 4 stomach surgeries, 3 spinal surgeries. She's been septic 6 times. I can't count the number of minor procedures that she's had. So we have had a very different journey. We've lived at different places around the nation. We've had opportunities to meet a lot of heterotaxy families along our journey in the different areas that we have lived. But it's definitely been different than most of yours. And it's been a challenge, I'm not going to lie. But along the way, we have figured out how to juggle heterotaxy with the life that we want to live and the life that we want to give our daughter. And, you know, this year has has been her best year so far. And watching her thrive, everything we have been through has been worth it just to have this summer with her.
Hi, I'm Liz Katsuleres. I'm the mom of Joe, who's just turned 4 and his typically developing 2-year-old Hellraiser little brother. We're from San Francisco Bay Area, and Joe's problems mostly are the cardiac, single ventricle so far. He's post-Glenn. And with that surgery, it's really kind of put everything into place for us. He's been able to come to this conference. He'll be starting preschool in the fall, and it's pretty incredible to see where we are now compared to just a few years ago. He was prenatally diagnosed, but a little on the later side, so it sort of took us by surprise in my 3rd trimester. But yeah, we're really happy to be here and seeing all these kiddos, and it's just pretty incredible where we are now.
Hi, I'm Monica, and I'm here with my husband Mike and Lauren, who I'm sure everybody knows now. And we are a military family and started our heterotaxy journey when Lauren was born in Georgia, only a year after we had moved there, so it was not home, and we were across the country from anybody. And so it has been a very interesting journey just because we're military, and there, we were so fortunate to walk into this world, this heterotaxy world, just a little bit after Necia and all of her awesome colleagues kind of started getting Heterotaxy Connection rolling. And so we walked into some great resources already, and so that was helpful. But I would say that Lauren is like textbook right atrial isomerism in her anatomy, and it, as you know, has posed a lot of challenges. And so now we're in Texas, and we'll be moving again in another year. So our journey comes from the perspective of an ever-changing environment that's totally out of our control. But it's been fabulous, and we are in the best spot we've ever been and able to be here. So I'm excited to share with you today.
Thank you so much. So I think when we talk about living with heterotaxy, what we're interested in is, what does that look like? What's the day-to-day life with heterotaxy? How does heterotaxy inform what you do on a day-to-day? So whether that's telling us a little bit about your daily routine or some of the things that you have to incorporate into your lives or think about because of heterotaxy, can any of you share a little bit about that?
I actually have to do a concentrator, which is like an oxygen pump that turns the air into oxygen for me to like have more oxygen, just so my heart just doesn't wear out and so I don't feel as tired, and different medications and lovely IVs at home, and yeah.
So our journey, and I think as we were sitting up here, all of us were discussing our daily routines now look very different than they have in years past. Hallie is 13, almost 14, and we have really been trying to work with her to learn to advocate for herself, to learn to manage her care, because bottom line is this is her body, and she is the one that has to learn all of this. So Hallie is pretty amazing in that regard, in many regards, but in that one, Hallie, it fills her own meds container. She takes about 40 pills a day, divided up 3 to 4 times a day. But she fills her own med containers. She can take a look at her pile of pills and tell me immediately if one is missing and what it is. She is the one that manages most of that. She manages her doctor's appointments, everything from checking in to, as we're driving to the hospital, she and I will discuss all of our concerns and what we're going to see this doctor for and what we need to bring up. And Hallie runs the appointments now, and she talks to them, and my job is just to kind of look at it and fill in the gaps and make sure that she's processing and understanding everything. So as a parent, I wake up every morning, and Hallie's room is right across from me. And I didn't realize that she's actually gone to several camps this summer, and so has been gone a lot. But I realized a couple weeks ago that my first thought when I wake up is listening for Hallie. What is she making noises? She may be swearing in her sleep. She may be, kicking. She may be, but I can typically tell how our day is going to go based on how she has slept the night before. I get woken up in the middle of the night by her doing sinus rinses. That's what I get, first thing in the morning. That's what I hear. That's what I hear when I'm going to bed at night. And I'm not talking just the little neti pot type things. She actually has the power tool ones. So it does. So, I hear this. She has the PCD. Her nose is like a faucet. So I go through about 2 Costco cases of Kleenexes a month with her. Her friends have lovingly offered to design her a necklace that holds a roll of toilet paper just for her. But you know what? She's also incredibly independent now, which has totally changed everything for me. I'm able to work. I was not at all when she was younger. So I work part-time about a mile from my house. I manage an optical office. I still get texts and random phone calls as she has questions or whatnot, but she's really independent. She goes to school. She just made her dance company. Like I said, she's been to 4 or 5 camps. She really this summer has been gone more than she's been home. I never thought I'd be able to send her anywhere without me. Even last summer, the one camp she went to, I went with her because she just wasn't to a point where she was ready to manage everything on her own. And she's gone all by herself to all of these. And so it's really an incredible place to be in right now.
Well, I think we're working on the 4-year-old version of, what that's going to look like in the future. So I feel like we're moving towards there. Yeah, for sure. As I was telling them about life with Heterotaxy. So, we're staying in a hotel room. We have Joe's feeding pump all hooked up. He's got all the comforts of home. This morning I go in to flush his feeding tube, and a few minutes later I hear retch. And I'm thinking, okay, I have to be downstairs at 9:00. It's 8:30. Are you sick? Are you feverish? Are you going to be throwing up all morning? That's kind of how the morning starts, these little clues of, maybe this is going to be a horrible day. Maybe this is going to be an okay day. Maybe this is going to be a typical Heterotaxy day. And sure enough, he makes it downstairs and is in the playroom and he's fine. Thank you. So, it's not, Heterotaxy is not like it's not this like forefront, like all encompassing just concern as it was just a few short years ago, but it's still there and it's still kind of in the background, ready to just sort of pop up at any moment. The first night we got here, as she was in the room with us, Joe is playing around in our hotel room and bumps his head into the corner of the table, and I had forgotten, this kid's on aspirin. Like, he is gushing blood. Like, we're in this hotel room far from home. Whoa. Like, these little, with people that we just met, and we're trying, and he's, screaming and just inconsolable. And I'm just thinking, I forgot that this kid is on aspirin, and this is a huge concern with a head injury, a potential head injury. But it was nice to have that chance to forget about that and just let him be a typical kid running around a hotel room and meeting new people. And I would say that was a pretty good example of life with Heterotaxy with our 4-year-old. So little surprises here and there, but overall he's living life.
I was thinking about this. I've been thinking about this the last 24 hours about life, how Heterotaxy affects our everyday life, and I just feel like it's really important to bring up then and now because 3-4 years ago, my day with Lauren or Mike and my days consisted of celebrating if we could sleep for 2 hours solid because she had 13 meds. I was pumping. She was on continuous feeds, and TRICARE didn't think that we qualified for nurse care or respite care. And so we took shifts, and that went on for a few months. And so I don't remember it, but I do remember it. Like, I feel like it's kind of like this nightmare I had, but that was, and trying to come to the reality, not knowing like what was in the future, this could very possibly be my life. And that's it. And kind of like, is this really what it's like? Is this what it's going to be? Our sink was always filled with syringes and bottles, and it was kind of like it took over our kitchen, and there was no room for us. It was like Lauren's house. And every little thing we did, even a bathroom break, was dictated by her medication schedule or her feeds or the state that she was in at the time. It was intense. This morning, Lauren woke up and told us the plan for the day, that she has a date in Joe's hotel room. But yes, she's going to keep him safe. And I was talking about how I finally made the step of being brave enough to drop her off at a drop-off co-op program. So it's like the first opportunity ever that I've left her in the hands of somebody else. I will disclose that I made all of them sit down for an hour with me so I could give them the protocol on Lauren. They have the Lauren handbook there readily available. But it's still, even though it seems more what everybody says is normal, there is still somewhere in my brain, everything we do is how does heterotaxy affect this? You know, it's like, okay, I really need to go to Target. I need to go to Target to pick up something. What time of day is it? What time of year is it? Can I take Lauren with me? It's like, I'm going to drop Lauren off at co-op, and it's near a certain holiday, and, you know, people have been traveling with families. Do I really want to drop her off? You know, so there's always those questions going on, and no matter how normal the day seems, the inside of my brain, it will never be normal again, and it's kind of a reality that kind of have come to peace with. But then at the same time, I'm celebrating every year is a little more normal, and so relieved when I think about 4 years ago, you know, when I was worried that would be my life, that, you know, I can say to you, it gets better. You know, it might not always be better, but it does get better, and there will be those years that are just glory years. We're in one of those right now, and I love it. And so, yeah.
So I'm hearing a lot from you guys about kind of the beginning of a heterotaxy journey to now and how that's changed. But can you think back to even before your journey began? A lot of families I hear talking about, you know, the before and after, before diagnosis and after diagnosis, and how there's kind of a split there in their old lives and their new lives. You guys have all kind of made this transition within your new lives, but what about transitioning from pre-heterotaxy to heterotaxy life? What was that like? Because it sounds like what I'm hearing is that was a bit of a paradigm shift.
So for me, I'm an introvert. It takes a lot out of me to be around a lot of people. I was so shy and quiet as a child that I did a fundraiser, and I made my younger, like 6-year-old brother come with me and doing the talking as I went door to door to sell pizza. I had to find my voice. I had to find that strength within myself. I look at people that are like, wow, look at you now. I couldn't be you. What you guys don't understand, and what everybody else doesn't understand, is that I've had almost 14 years to become this, to find my voice, to find my strength inside. I look at the me before, and it's hard to fathom that person, because I have shifted, and I like to say I'm now an extroverted introvert. But, you know, definitely a different person than I was. And the things that were important to me before, you know, it shifts. You know, it's not so much about, oh, I need that new shirt. Still kind of nice. But, or, you know, my washing machine broke. What am I going to do? Now I'm like, score, I don't have to do laundry for a couple of days while we wait for the repairman. Everything shifted for me. And the importance that we place on things repeatedly is shown to me that, you know what? My husband lost his job earlier this year, and people were like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? And it was at the time in our community that we lost Nick, and we lost Alexandra, and then we lost Santi. And, you know, there was others that quickly followed after. And I would look at him and I'm like, we're fine. You know what? This is just a bump in our road. It's fine. We have insurance. We've gotten the insurance. That was my big concern. We are okay, because you know what? I'm not planning a funeral right now. And I would never would have been able to look at that. It would have been just this catastrophe in my life previously. And so I just have found this very big shift internally inside myself.
I feel like you just took all the words out of my mouth. Yeah, so for me, having my first child with heterotaxy, my journey to parenthood is just so intertwined with heterotaxy that becoming a parent, first of all, is life-changing. And then on top of that, to be parenting a child with heterotaxy is just, there's no comparison to our lives before. It's everything's different. But I would say the biggest thing is all those little things that you worried about before, the little things that you worried about when you were becoming a parent or becoming a mom. None of that mattered. All those little choices that you think you're going to have to make that are such a big deal, bottle, breast, this, that, it's like none of that matters. Is my kid alive? Check. Is he gaining weight? Check. There was no cloth diapering versus, disposal. It was just, how can we keep this kid alive and enjoy him? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And it's still all that matters. And all those little bumps in the road, we can handle those. Those can be fixed. If it can be fixed with maybe a little money or help from somebody or asking a favor from somebody, that's great. What we can't fix is the inside of my child's body. We have to rely upon really skilled surgeons and doctors to do that. I can't fix what's going to happen to him in the future, but I can fix the refrigerator breaking. We can get a new fridge. We can't get a new body for my kid. So you really start to see what matters and what doesn't, and it kind of opens up this whole freedom to enjoy life as it comes, and that's all that matters.
And I'm over here trying to change my script because you guys keep taking it. So I am going to put myself out there and be brave and admit. So I always call life before Lauren the pre-Lauren era, because it was that jarring of a change. My husband is an Army Airborne Ranger, very well respected, and he's not going to say that, but he is very well respected in the military. And when we moved to Georgia the year before Lauren was born, I was a newly minted national board certified music educator that had a very, very strong 10 years built music program in a very wealthy community in Washington State. And it was like, where are we going to go from there? We both kind of had these go-getter attitudes. We'd hear about a marathon down the street that happened to be happening. It was like, okay, let's go run that marathon. No big deal. Like, it was seriously crazy people. And I didn't realize how judgmental and close-minded I was about the world until Lauren was born, and it opened me up to this entire community of people that I never knew existed. It opened me up to realize that a lot of the people that I had in my circle of life were probably not the best people to have in my circle of life. Many of them disappeared really quickly and unexpectedly as our journey with Lauren began. But at the same time, this amazing community of people who feel more like family than some of my family ever did just came out of the woodwork. And I still sit here and think how creepy it is that I feel so connected to somebody online. Like, I have so many people that I love, like I would die for, that I met online. And so it is a total different mindset. And, I was that person that was judging every kid that knocked at our door at Halloween and like how rude that kid was, and it's like, why were they so stinking picky about what candy they got? I'm like, well, you know what? Now my kid is that kid that you can't see her illness, but it's really important that she gets the candy with the right texture, or that, the fact that she'll, actually speak to you when you open the door, in a kind way. And people don't realize like how far we've come to get to that point. It's like those little things you just become hyper aware of. And it's completely changed our whole family, and who we are and how we interact with the world. I almost feel like Lauren was born to teach me how to be a human being. I feel so much less confident, but so much more at ease about like going into the future. Like, you know what? It's going to be okay. We've gone to hell and back a few times, and we're probably going to go there again, but we can do this now. It's going to suck, but we can do this now. So, yeah.
So for you three as mothers, there was a huge paradigm shift. Hallie, you have never known life without heterotaxy.
No, I'm not.
Do you ever think about it?
Not really. I know that even if I didn't have heterotaxy, I'd still have tons of problems.
Amazing genetics.
Yeah, very amazing genetics.
All right, so Hallie, I'm going to start with you on this one. Since you are the expert, because you have heterotaxy, what are some tips and tricks for best life with heterotaxy? Not just survival mode, because I know a lot of us have been in survival mode or are maybe still there, but you're kind of moving past it. You're coming into your own and advocating for yourself. What are some of your tips for going beyond surviving and really thriving in a life with heterotaxy?
I would just say be yourself, be weird, be whatever, because I feel like this world kind of frowns upon if you're different or like imperfect or something like that. Be yourself no matter what they say.
Oh gosh, I want to just end the panel right there. We're going to keep going, but yes. What about from the other side, from the parental perspective? What are ways that you've found to move from survival to just thriving?
So for me, it was following Hallie's lead. I have found I would limit her a lot more than she limits herself, and not necessarily in a good way. I'm the one that, she'd be in the hospital at age 8 after a bowel resection that had gone, we had a collapsed lung, ended up in the PICU. I finally just told him, we're going home. I don't care that her gut is not working. Give me TPN. I'm taking my child home because she is languishing here. And her arthritis was flaring, it was just, she was in a very bad place. And I just said, we're done. I'm going to take her home and we are going to start our healing there. And I was exhausted. I hadn't been sleeping. There were days that I had been up, 24 hours straight, 36 hours straight. And I could not wait to walk in that door and just lay on the couch and not have that, beeping and worrying about nurses coming in and out and all of that. I was just going to start to decompress. And we pull in the driveway and Hallie looks at me and she's like, I'm going to go see my friends. And I'm like, I'm crashing right now. I am physically crashing. The adrenaline's running out. I'm done. And she's like, but I haven't seen them. They'd been sending her videos, all of that. So we had to compromise. I'm like, well, if you go get them, could you at least bring them back here so I can supervise from my crashed place on the couch? So I have learned she will push herself far more than I would. Our kids thrive on normalcy. They thrive on just being kids. And I have learned through this process that so much of what kids learn comes from just being kids. We've had to do physical therapy for years to teach her how to use her body because she didn't know how to do that because she wasn't out there running. She wasn't out there playing. So just if your kid is like, you know what, I think I'm going to try it. Obviously, we have to look at the safety factors and whatnot. But if they are saying, you know what, I want to try this, even though your first instinct might be to say, you're crazy, because I've said that a few times or a lot. But to just give them that opportunity, help them to have those normal moments amidst all of that chaos and trauma in their lives, because that's what they need.
Yeah, just to kind of spin off from that too, is I would say not that I've become like an ultra permissive, like anything goes parent, but I definitely find myself trying not to resort to an automatic no anytime something comes up that, you know, maybe for a typical kid, I would just not even consider. There's very few things in our life that are just a hard no. I mean, we've opened ourselves up to little adventures. You know, if Joe wants to take another elevator ride on our way to the room, it's not hurting anybody. He loves it. I mean, why not? You know,
that elevator is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be talking about those elevators probably for the rest of his life. Honestly, it's like what? It's not harming anybody. You know, I feel like if he was born healthy and we had just gone through this typical parenting journey that I had envisioned, I probably would have been sort of, I don't know, annoyed or just kind of snippier, I think, with these, like, you know, harmless little whimsical requests from my son. And I would say that opening myself up to saying yes to these things, it's brought this joy in my life that I don't think I would have let myself experience with my kids. So I would say the advice I have is just not to say no right away. Maybe say, let me think about that, or sure, why not? Or just open yourself up to these little joys in life that only can come from going to hell and back.
The elevator reminds me that when Lauren was 3, her birthday celebration was going to the mall to ride every escalator. And so, you know, and we had just moved to a new place, and so we didn't know what else to do, and it was the best gift we could have given her. So, you know, you got to say yes. I would have to say the best advice I could give is to trust your intuition. I have learned there are few more powerful forces in this world than the strong intuition of a parent. And it's saved my daughter's life multiple times. And if you want to hear those stories, I'd be happy to tell them. But that intuition is not only important in, you know, the hard situations, but it also in the good times, you know, and that's when it comes to, okay, you know what, this is a point in time where I would normally say no, and it's time to just kind of let the bird fly. You know, those intuitions, I strongly believe, are also your child telling you what they need, because they often can't voice it. And so you know, that sounds so weird and like sci-fi, but it's like, I kind of feel like there's this just like kind of spiritual connection that they give you. And then I used to question everything, question myself, question my thoughts. And it's like, am I thinking rationally? Like, does this even make sense? And then I've learned to just kind of go with it. And it's led to me ignoring all the stupid mom blogs that say that you need to let your kid cry it out. And I'm like, yeah, well, when my kid cries it out, she ends up going into cyanotic shock. You know, it's like, it's not going to work. So she's 5 and she still sleeps in our bed, and I don't know how long that's going to be, but whatever, you know. And so you start to make those decisions and not to guilt yourself over them, but just say, this is our house rules, and I'm proud of them, and it's working for us, and my kid is thriving, and that's okay. And, just don't second guess yourself on what is the best choice for you and your family and your world.
Hang on to that, Mike, because we're starting at your end now. I'm hearing a lot of empowerment from you, coming into your own in terms of your confidence in your own parenting and your own decision making. What are some other ways? Increase in joy. What are other ways that Heterotaxy has actually changed things for the better? Because I know we talk a lot about the hard parts, but I can tell there's good parts too.
I would say, and Lauren is obviously in the front of my mind. It's taught me to, every time there is something different or if there's adversity, automatically look at what good is coming out of that. Like, what is this going to bring me to? It's like when I watched Lauren throw this pitiful fit because I couldn't cook her green bean while driving down the freeway in the car that she wanted to eat, and, in pre-Lauren era, that would have ruined my day. But now it's just like, that's my girl, it's like, that's my girl. She's gonna conquer the world one day. And it's such a great feeling to have, to be able to celebrate even the crappiest little moments. And I love it. And I'm finding myself looking for that in other people too. And especially other people where their differences are very blatant. It's brought that perspective has just opened up our world as a family tremendously, and I love it. I'm so glad to be in this place.
Yeah, wow. I don't know how to follow these things anymore. Yeah, right? There's that saying, everything happens for a reason, and it's total garbage. Because if that's true, I don't even know what to do with that. But I do feel like these things that happen, it's not necessarily for a reason, but we can always learn from them. I think it was in what session it was that Amy was saying, our time here is to learn and grow. I'm probably paraphrasing it poorly. Our time. These things aren't happening for a reason, but we can take what happens, learn from it, grow, and get something out of it. I mean, I'm just rambling at this point, but
rambling's okay.
It's sort of indescribable. I could never have imagined finding myself in this position in life where I just feel so at ease, even amongst all the stuff that has happened to us, to my child. It's just incredible how all of this can happen, and I can take something from it and keep going forward. I mean, I can't believe we're here. It's incredible.
So perspective is a big word in my life. And it came from a very early on in Hallie's journey. I remember very, very distinctly sitting in the waiting room. She was 2.5 months old. We just found out that, my world kind of shattered in doctors at that point. I thought, before that, doctors fix people, right? That's what they do. And, did it matter to me that they'd already removed my daughter's half of her intestines? At that point, no, because that's what doctors did. They fixed people, right? And I remember very distinctly sitting in this waiting room while Hallie underwent her second bowel resection. And my world was just kind of shattered. What do you mean? They didn't fix her, right? She'd had a volvulus and it was flapping down and scarring her intestines. And it was really kind of my first inkling that this was not just a one and done type thing. This might be really more than that. And I remember looking across at these two moms. There's one sitting next to me, one sitting across from me. And they're both crying. One pretty hysterically. I mean, she's pretty worked up. The other one, she's just got those, silent rivers coming down. And so, I'm thinking, I'm going to reach outside myself because I'm kind of still in shock at the moment. I'm going to reach out and, and connect with these people. So I look at the one mom and I'm like, what's your child having done? He's having tubes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? And I honestly didn't even know how to react. I mean, when Hallie had tubes, I was still catching up with the receptionist in the waiting room because, we hadn't seen each other for a couple months and we had a lot of catching up to do. And, the ENT comes out and I'm like, you're supposed to be back with my child. And he's like, oh, I'm done. She's getting her echo now. And I'm like, that was like 10 minutes ago. What do you mean you're done? How does that happen? So I'm honestly looking at this mom and just thinking, are you kidding me? So I lean over to this other mom thinking, okay, maybe she's got a better story. I'm like, what is your child having? She's having adenoids. And I will admit it was something that I struggled with. I mean, I am sitting there not sure if I'm going to see my daughter at the end of this. Not sure if my whole world is changing in this moment. And they are struggling with tubes and adenoids. And for a while, I struggled with this. This was something that really hit me hard. And it finally came to me one day. I was talking to my aunt, and she literally just hung up in the middle of a conversation. I got to go, and she wouldn't tell me what was going on. And I finally was talking to her afterwards, and her daughter was having some problems, and she was hesitant to talk to me about them because she felt like they were so minor in comparison to mine. And it really hit me. It's a matter of perspective. In my world, those things, minor. They barely register as a blip. But in their world, that is a big thing. And I wouldn't want them to know what it's like from my perspective. This is a club that I don't think any of us want to invite anybody to join. But I've really taken that and moved forward with that in my entire life. Everything is a matter of perspective. My friend, when her husband lost a job, that was a huge deal in her life. And working on my empathy and my compassion, I'm able to look at her and say, this is a big deal for you. Here's what I've learned how to handle things that are big deals for me. May not be the exact same thing, but we're all going through things. And so really being able to apply that in my life. And I'm now the first person to jump in and help out. Those moms that are juggling all these kids that are screaming and yelling and, I'm the first one to offer to help or to try and distract. Or, something happens to one of my neighbors. I'm the first one to reach out because I've been there and I've had those people helping me and stepping up. And I know what that feels like. And I can't repay them, but I can pay forward everything that has been done for us.
Going off a matter of perspective, I have friends who say, oh, that surgery's not that bad. I'm like, you haven't been there. And it's kind of it's hard for them to understand that, surgery, oh, it's just a few hours, you'll be fine. There's a lot of risks that come with it that, you don't know, and that you don't know if you're ever going to make it back to see them again. And you have to, break the news, I might not be here again the next day for school. I might not be here at all. And, that's when their perspective kind of changes and, empathy comes towards you. And it's just a different perspective when they see it from when they kind of think they got it down from when you explain it to them.
So being open to seeing that other people have their own journeys, but also inviting them to understand your journey?
Yeah.
Is there a way that you found you're able to help other people understand your journey?
that it's harder and I might miss school, but I will still catch up. I'm not going to miss school just for the fun of it. Like, I have kids who are like, you're getting checked out? No fair. I'm like, I'm going to a therapy appointment. I don't think it's fun. Or like surgery or procedure. I'm like, no.
And do you find that it's hard to be open about your journey with your friends, or have you been able to find people?
No, I just don't shut up, and I talk about my problems a lot.
I love this woman. All right, while Hallie's got the mic, does anyone have any questions for her or for any of our other panelists?
So, Hallie, I was wondering for you as a survivor, if mentally you get the most exhausted by the big things, or it's just the small things added up on the weekly that really break you down?
I think it's the bigger things, because I just remember when I had, like, we first broke the news that I had to have neck surgery, and I'd be probably paralyzed if we didn't. I just broke down. But when I had like a smaller procedure, it's not as bad. It's just a little procedure. It's 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, over. But when it's like more of a risk, you break yourself down and, you can build yourself back up, but sometimes it doesn't always work.
So when you have those big procedures, because you've obviously been through a lot with your spine and everything, how do you mentally find the strength to go to those daily physical therapies and just those repetitive things, breaking up your so-called normal daily life?
Getting it over with is the best. My mom's like, cooperation is key to getting it over with. I really didn't like to cooperate, and I still don't like to cooperate with doctors. But cooperating with them and kind of laying it out flat, like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this is the easiest way to get me out of here and to get me better as fast as possible.
Hallie, during one of those big events that were really hard for you, what was the best thing that your mom said to you that made you feel the most comforted?
It's not really what she said, but what she did is, like, I have PTSD because of it, but she understood that, like, it just bothered me before procedures and after, when the doctors kept coming in and talking about, bigger things that might cause risk. She told them to step outside and talk to her out there, just kind of giving me more comfort and, like, feeling that I have control.
You are allowed to ask questions of other panelists, but we understand that Hallie's perspective is probably...
Thanks, really, thanks.
This is a question for Hallie, just for clarity. So we work constantly. I think all of us as parents work constantly to try to give our children the tools and the words and the language and the coping skills and the scripts to be able to get through painful and difficult things. Blood draws, sitting still for uncomfortable procedures, preparing to go into surgeries. So do you specifically have any advice for our kids and for us as parents to be able to best help them?
There are certain triggers in everybody when they have procedures or just kind of different things that can break them down. But just find those triggers and find a way to work on them, whether it's walking a pet or playing with a pet or, playing with slime or something that, like, is relaxing to you, or coloring, whatever, kind of to cope with that.
Anyone else?
I'm looking around first to see if anybody else wants to ask a good question. This question is actually for Liz and Monica, because you guys are kind of right in the realm of it. I guess first of all, Monica, my son sleeps with me, and I've gone against every single AAP recommendation, by the way, as a pediatrician. We took him off monitors because we wanted to go to sleep, and we took him off monitors, put him in between us on the cot, and slept together so, in the hospital. So, but my question for you guys, I've gone through this terrifying journey of finding a preschool for Manny, and I finally found one who requires vaccines. I've had Heather's great, by the way, great perspective on this living in California. Of course, I live in Washington. Liz, you live in California as well, where there are tons of non-vaxxers. Thank you for reminding me about aspirin. How did you guys go about finding your preschools feel like comfortable? What did you say to your preschools? And what is that first day going to be like for you guys? Or how was it? What was the first day like for you guys?
Well, I am really good at not sugarcoating. And, there's something, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the teacher in me or what, but it's like I kind of have this need to share Lauren's journey. And I actually found, like, I homeschool Lauren, but we're part of co-ops, and so that it does actually feel like a school community. And we actually went through about 3 homeschool groups before deciding to stick with one. But I always went in with, I'm a mom with a preschooler, and she's a miracle child. She's not supposed to be here today, so this is what I need from you. And it was a little bit too much, so don't do that. It's like, here's my fragile child. But it's really just not being afraid to ask the questions, as silly as they sound. With the drop-off program that she is in now, I asked them how big the toilets were, where the sink was. I asked them for every event that we did, would they be willing to put a disclaimer on the event site about illness? And the one that we're in now actually puts a disclaimer before every post about illness. And they were willing to work with me. I feel like I found a unicorn. They basically tell the families not to send anybody to the co-op if anybody in the family is sick, whether you vax or not. And I'm like, yes. So I have not seen any snot at all in this group. It's like this magical group of kids that doesn't get sick. But they appreciate it too, because from their perspective, when their kid comes home with a cold, it's not like, like us, like, crap, we need to go to the ER now. But it's great. Now my whole family's going to have a cold, and that is stressful. It is, no matter what kind of family you have. And so first, when you're going out to find schools and find organizations that your kid is going to be part of, meet them where they're at, and then kind of slowly but very openly and honestly bring up your concerns. And you'll find that doing it that way, you'll probably find somewhere that's willing to accommodate and willing to say, oh, this is something we didn't realize we needed to do, and learn from it. And, bring it as a perspective that everybody can benefit from it. So, like, hey, if you don't send your kids with the cold, then your family's not going to get sick this season, And so they're like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. Imagine that, being not sick. You have to be persistent, and just like in the medical world, you have to keep searching and keep asking and looking around. But there will be something out there. There really will. Good luck.
I thought I had a question. We have kind of an opposite story of finding a preschool, because we literally only toured one, and just decided on that one almost that day. But it was one that, like, the other families in our community had talked about. I knew people that were going to be going there, and it's also called Happy Hearts, which, like, it was just like, you can't ask for a more perfect name for a preschool for a single ventricle heart kid. But also, I haven't been back to work since Joe was born. So the one thing that I was looking for was a place that people weren't necessarily relying upon for, like, daycare, it's more of like an enrichment sort of program. So I mean, that is a big consideration and a whole life shifting thing in that I haven't been able to go back to work, but we're just going to take it one week, one day at a time and see how it goes. But, you know, I'm definitely a little nervous about the whole thing, but he really wants to go to school. He's already got his backpack and he needs to do it. He wants to be there and meet other kids. So
you're going to say yes.
We're saying yes.
You didn't say no right away.
No, definitely did not. Another thing too was they did not require kids to be fully potty trained, which is a huge thing for a kid on Lasix and with sensory and auditory processing difficulties. So I think it's great that there's not this huge pressure on him to get there before he's fully ready to. But yeah, we're excited.
I know this question wasn't aimed directly at me, but having a child that has gone through public school, you know, we've had a lot of our ups and downs, and we've been through several schools. Being upfront, what are your needs? What are your child's needs? What are your, as a mother's or a father's needs? Being open with the kids, as open as you're comfortable with. Like when Hallie first started kindergarten, I went in and talked to the class, and we had a whole lesson on differences. And, you know, there's kids with brown hair, and there's kids with, you know, red hair and blonde hair, and some were wearing green shoes, and some, I mean, we talked about all sorts of differences.
Kids with intestines and kids without.
Right? I mean, spleens, you have, you know, so many differences. But those kids, I will tell you, were the best support system. Her kindergarten year was a horrific year. She had 86 absences. She went through spinal surgery. She got pneumonia, landed in the hospital. She went septic, landed in the hospital. She had a stomach surgery, went horrifically wrong, went into liver failure, kidney failure, VRE. Then we had a splenic infarction, and we rounded it out with a bowel obstruction. But you know what? Those kids understood differences, and they understood that she was different in a good way. And they were incredible. They put a monkey, a big stuffed monkey, in her seat. And so when she was not there, she was still there. They were still thinking about her. They were still including her in things. Her monkey got her papers. Her monkey got, you know, if there were snacks that were passed out, her monkey got the snacks. Yeah. When it was pajama day, the monkey got pajamas. Yeah, after that, we just have pajamas on. Yeah, small detail. But because we had those conversations at the very beginning with her teacher, with the students, I had sent home a very basic letter through the teacher to the parents. In April, when she finally was ready to go back to school on a regular basis, she hadn't had a birthday party or anything. So we thought, you know what, to help ease that transition, let's do a little party, her birthday party. And we invited all the class, thinking naively that half of them or so would come, right? Every single one came. Every single one, even her kindergarten teacher. But they were there for her. And how do people know what your needs are if you're not expressing them?
Can I piggyback on that?
Go right ahead.
I want to say that it is never too early to teach your child to abdicate and talk about themselves to others. And I want to give a beautiful example. We were at the zoo, and there's this picnic area at the zoo, and it smells like all of the animals' waste products combined was used for the fertilizer in the grass. It was yucky, and it was a hot day, and it hadn't rained in forever, but somehow my child found the mud puddle I don't know how it became muddy. That's what scared me. I'm like, why is this muddy? And she decided to dress herself in it. And so I had to, with nowhere else to go, in front of all her friends, change her clothes and get her cleaned up. And I asked her, is it okay? You're going to be naked bakey, that's what she says, in front of your friends. And she's like, okay, whatever, She's like, whatever. So I'm changing her, and one of her friends starts asking what the scars were and what the tube is. And before I could say anything, Lauren's like, oh, that's my superhero zipper. That's where the doctor unzips it, and then he fixes my heart, and then he zips it back up with tape. And she thinks it's so cool that they use tape. And then they asked about the tube. And then one girl asked if she could touch her scar. She's like, okay. And the girl was just like rubbing her scar and just fascinated. And then there was this angels were singing moment. And then they just went off and did their kid things. And there was nothing more said about it. And it was okay. And as a parent, thinking so hard, how am I going to prepare my child to be around all these typically developing kids in all these different environments, and what's going to happen if I'm not there? And it was that moment that I realized, you know what, she's got this, and she was 4 at the time, so Joe's going to be fine. And it was in a very, that same period, another girl in our group got attacked and bitten all over her body by fire ants. And so it was like this crazy day. But it made me learn that it's going to be okay, and it's like you're just going to deal with it. But your kid is going to deal with it better than you will when you, move them into that real world. So it'll be okay.
I feel like that's a good place to stop. One way or another, we will all find our path, and we will all find our way forward. It's going to be okay. It might not be the same as what we expected. In fact, it's not going to be because heterotaxy, #. But we're all going to find our way. And I'm so grateful to you for sharing your perspectives. And I'm going to pull Necia up off the panel because she's the boss of me.
I tell my kids that all the time.
Chris,
as we wrap up this conference, number one, can I get Heather Williams to come up? And I'm going to try and do this without tears. Oh, no fair. She brought her own Kleenex.
Thanks to Fiona.
Oh, yeah. I just brought them back.
Oh, good. We might need those. So, Heather has been my partner in crime. She has been... Heterotaxy Connection is here because Heather and I connected. She reached out to me when I had no one. I'd never heard the word heterotaxy. I'd never met another heterotaxy family. The closest people that we could relate to were those with cancer. And because she followed my daughter's story and happened to check in and say, hey, my son has the same thing. We have started an incredible journey together. And I've stepped back many times through this conference and just kind of viewed this as a whole. And it's incredible to see what has happened because you made that decision to reach out and say, hey, I think our children have the same thing. Heather is starting on a new path in her life. She will be leaving our board, which is emotional for both of us. I'm so excited for her for the direction she is going in. I will very, very much miss her. But I wanted to take this moment to recognize her for all of her contributions to our community. She has been my sounding board. She has been, we've brainstormed. There's so much that we have. As ironically, my Facebook memories today was a post from Heather preparing for our first conference 4 years ago and talking about, us seeing a need in the community and doing what any normal, sane human beings, mothers that are overly taxed already do, and saying, hey, let's start a nonprofit. That sounds fun, doesn't it?
We could do that.
Yeah, totally fine. So I just wanted to make sure that we recognized Heather, and for everything she has done for us. She will still be in our community. She will still be working with us moving forward, but it will be in a different capacity. So this is for you, my dear. You might need Kleenexes. So, you can sit down now and go cry in the back. This has been incredible to see all of you come together. We've shared many tears. We've shared laughter. But most importantly, we've connected. And it's these connections that I hope that we are taking forward from here. The connections with other families, the connections we've made with doctors. These connections are what get us through this journey. And I hope that each of us are taking this forward and using it to connect with others and to take what we have learned and share it with your team, with your community, with your village that helps you. It is because we do this that we are making a difference in the heterotaxy community. And I am so excited for the direction we are going, for the opportunities that are opening up for us, and to see the difference that we are making. Oh, we're building bridges. Just an FYI. All these bridges that we have made, thus our lovely theme this year. But using these to continue forward, to continue to make differences in others, and not just those with heterotaxy, but we learn so much along our journey that help others. So as we close, I wanted to turn it over to Hallie. I know she's got some slides for everybody.
It's just these.
I know, but For now.
However, so I know you guys saw me taking a lot of pictures throughout the weekend. I will be, give me a little bit, because I got to get them off my camera and weed out the blurry ones, because your kids move quickly. Let's just say that. But I will be getting a folder together online at some point in the near future that we will make sure you guys all have access to, with all the photos. If possible, we'll make it so that everyone can put their photos in there, so we can just all have a big pile of memories from this weekend. So that'll be coming down the pipe, so keep an eye open for that. I can't stop looking at this picture and what it represents. We just keep saying, this is the most that have ever been in one place at one time. And not just the ones that are here, but I see ones represented like Christian and Elena and Mallory. I see them, they're here as well because their families are here, and Nick. And it's just, I love this picture because of what it represents. Gosh, you already cried, so I'm not allowed to.
Sorry about your luck.
There are posters in the back. If you have your warrior, make sure you grab your poster. I will also be sending you the file. If your poster gets damaged on the way home, I'll send you the file. We printed those at Costco, so you can redo that. You should have all received a survey. If you guys can fill that out and just hand it back to us, any of the board members, before you head out, that would be really helpful as we look forward to planning for the next conference. Obviously, we're always here, and we always want to hear feedback from you. If you go home and think, oh, I should have mentioned that, shoot us a message. We want to hear how you felt about this weekend and what we can do better, what you think would have been better for next time, because we don't want to just kind of coast. We always want to be finding ways to support, educate, and empower our community the best way that we can. If you are checking out and are around for a little while, aren't flying out until later, you can leave your bags here and if you can make your way to the Children's Museum, if you show your badge, they have a discounted rate for us this afternoon. If that's something your kids or your family would be interested in, if you need to fill some time this afternoon.
If you are flying out today, I have heard from a couple that flew out early this morning. The security lines are long, so plan a little bit extra time into your...
But like what's long at Salt Lake?
I would say be there at least an hour and a half early. So, yes. So, there is some merchandise left. If anybody did not get a chance or was waiting till the last day, we do have some left. And just keep in mind that, you know, I've heard from the couple of families that were at our first conference that are here again, how different this one has been. It's because of feedback, and it's because we heard from families, this is what we want, this is what we need. You know, we are just moms that are just figuring things out as we go along. And so if you ever have these ideas, please don't be hesitant to bring them to our attention, because it's a matter of perspective. Your perspective might not be the same as ours. It's why we try and have different perspectives on our board. But if you come to us and you see a need in our community that we are not meeting, please let us know. We do want to, you know, fill those gaps as much as possible, but what we don't know, we can't fix. So please don't be afraid to reach out to us, to bring us ideas. If you just need help, if you just need somebody to talk to, you know, that's what we're here for. We've been there. We've all been on our own journeys, and between us all, we can find one of us that have been in your particular hole, and we'll jump down in there with you and help you figure out a way to get out. So, safe travels. Thank you all for coming. Excited to see where we go from here. So, thank you, thank you. Oh, one more thing.
Our amazing AV crew here, who has been keeping us running all weekend, thank you so much. We're really grateful for what you've done to help this run smoothly. They're going to be compiling a DVD for us with all the sessions, the 4 main sessions, and our panels. We didn't record workshops and breakouts because we felt those were more intimate times of sharing. So those are just for those of us who have been here. But the other sessions will be available, and we will let you know as that comes available as we move forward.
Oh, and just one more shout out to our sponsors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Facebook, actually, our whole community is based on Facebook, is on these Facebook forums and groups, and Facebook very generously donated to help support this conference, like the Facebook. So they sponsored. We know them somehow, and we are so grateful for what they did in making this possible. And also we had Augie's Heart Tribe, who are one of our Heterotaxy families. August Spurlock, his tribe came and rallied and were a big sponsor of this conference, and then also a local web development company called Big Theory Creative. They were another one of our sponsors who really contributed a lot to make this conference happen.
So we also had quite a few smaller sponsors.
Yes.
So we won't mention them by name, but definitely a lot that came together to make this all possible for you. So, and a big shout out to the Doubletree. They have been phenomenal.
Amazing. Mina. If you saw me, I think we've all met Mina, who has been taking care of us and mothering us all weekend. Thank you, Mina.
I'm going to take her home with me.
She's mine. She already promised to come home with me.
Yeah, well, we only live a mile apart, so
That's true.
We can split. So, all right.
All right, frickin'
Safe
Brack.
travels,
You're
everybody.
released. We're done.
Yep.